guys, it's Brooke. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the kitchen at Wildfell Manor. So today I'm going to do a video on pumpkins. So I have two pumpkins in front of me. I grew them both in my garden. Now I know a lot of people tend to grow pumpkins for decoration. I grow them primarily for eating because I do love hard squash. I came late to the winter squash game, but now that I'm here, I can't get enough of them. Butternut squash in particular is like my favorite, but I like pumpkin too. So this year I grew a Jarrahdale pumpkin and I also grew Cinderella pumpkin. So I usually save them for doing things like, I'm not really a pie person, but I do use them in pasta sauces and even like, for example, chili. Sometimes I'll substitute the pumpkin for tomato because pumpkin actually has a lot more nutrients in it. So I'm going to show you how I prep pumpkins for later consumption. So the first thing you're going to need is a very sharp chef's knife. Now mine is by Wusthof and I sharpened it earlier today. And in case you were wondering how to sharpen the edge, you can use one of these things and do the typical you see on TV, or you can grab one of these babies from Wusthof and you just run your knife through it. So I did a little bit of both. Okay, but let me clean this off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, don't try to do it like this. I usually go in with the tip first, like so. If your knife is properly sharpened, it should go right in, and you can go right down. Now, the first slice is always the most difficult to get out, but once you do, the rest of it goes pretty easy. So you may need a fork or something to try this baby out. That clanking is the dog. Okay, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so I got it open and pulling it out. Now I do have some seeds. I'm not going to save the seeds. I'm not going to, oh, here's what the flesh looks like. Usually it's a little bit more orange, but everything, it can depend. I'll cut this one open too, but usually it's deeper orange, but I don't know. I didn't grow the other ones, so maybe that's why it looks differently, but I don't seed save with pumpkins. The reason I don't seed save is because pumpkins can, especially when they're open pollinated, I had these growing in a bin with other types of squash. Oh, hold on a second, the dog needs water. Okay, so now I'm back. So anyway, I don't save seeds from hard squash. The reason is, number one, I grew my pumpkins in the same thing with butternut squash, like Hubbard squash, like other things. And, bees will cross-pollinate them, and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get from the seeds the next year. You may get something edible, but then again, you could do the seeds and end up with a gourd, which is something that's not edible. So saving seeds from pumpkin requires a high degree of skill, which I do not possess. And like I said, I grew in this area where I had multiples, and I don't want to end up with something like toxic squash syndrome, which is a thing if you eat a squash. Like, for example, it tastes bitter. Yeah, that's why it is. And so you can kind of get that when you have situations where the squash are like cross-pollinating. Because what happens is, even if it cross-pollinates, yeah, that pumpkin will be true to the seed that you planted, even though it's got pollen from another plant, but where it takes effect is in the actual seed. So I don't want to risk it, so I just don't do that. So now that I got the first one out, cutting this open should be a little bit easier. preparing this one. Okay guys, I am finished. So actually, I'm gonna cut this one down a little bit smaller just so that in terms of doneness, it'll get done faster. Okay, so like I said, you put the skin side down and then you're gonna just like roast it for an hour. So I'm gonna throw these in the oven and then I'm gonna prep the the Cinderella pumpkin. Actually, I'm going to Okay, so I put both of those trays in, and those were half trays, so they're like 18 by I think 12 or something. So that took up both racks and it's filled the entire rack. So my entire thing is filled with pumpkin. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and prep this, but I'm just going to have to put it like in a bowl in the refrigerator until the oven is empty. So yeah. I missed my 30-inch snag, let's put it this way. For those of you who are joining me for the first time in my kitchen, last year when I started my channel, I lived at a different house called Wild Eve Cottage, and I had a 36-inch oven. And so doing projects like this was really, really nice because it was a lot more space. Last bit, so I'm going to put these in plastic, and when those finish after an hour, I'm going to come back and put these in for an hour, and then I'll show you how I take it out of its skin. Okay guys, so I took the pumpkins out. They're done. The flesh is soft. So I think, you know, it's kind of hard to tell when a pumpkin is ripe. I mean, I knocked on it, it sounded hollow, but I think this might have been slightly underripe. I mean, I think, well, right now it looks very yellow, but it does have orange. It's not as deep orange as, like, for example, that other one. So, but the good news is with pumpkins, even if they're underripe, you can still eat them. They just have a very much milder flavor. So what would I use this for? Like I said, chili. To be quite honest, I am actually like there's this pumpkin shake that was made by Be Good. And this will be perfect because it's not too pumpkin-y. It's just kind of light. But I do have the Cinderella pumpkin in, and that's much orange, a lot more orange. And quite frankly, what I may do, I know there's a couple of stores that have Ghirardelli pumpkins. I might get a different one because I do really like the flavor of the Ghirardelli, especially when it's orange, because it's kind of got a light sweetness to it. So anyway, like I said, this is my first time growing pumpkin, so I was bound to get it wrong. So I think the next time I need to be probably a little bit more patient because well, I mean, the other thing was that I actually had a squirrel that was eating the pumpkin, so I figured I better get it sooner rather than later. So I'll have to figure out a way to squirrel proof everything because I lost like some of my mini butternut squash, like, excuse me, they're called honeywort squash. And actually one of my pumpkins actually did get eaten completely by a squirrel. So that's one of the reasons I pulled them off now. So I'll do better next year. And there's the pooch. What's the matter, baby? Would you like a treat? Is that what you want? A treat? You want a treat? Okay, let me go get him a treat. And I got another hour to go for the other pumpkins. Okay guys, so here's the Cinderella pumpkin. And it's all nice and hot and done. So just gotta wait for it to cool. And basically you're just gonna scoop it out. It's actually really soft. And so I gotta let this finish cooling, and actually I'm gonna start some dinner. But it's pretty easy. You know, I mean, aside from roasting it, just the time really just comes from, you know, chopping it up. So anyway, I will see you guys in a bit. Okay guys, so the pumpkin is cool, so let me show you what you do with it. Basically, you just scoop it out of the skin. It's pretty soft at this point. I'm not going to use mine right at this moment, so I'm just going to put it in the freezer bag and throw it in the freezer, and then when I'm ready, I can do, you know, do puree, or if I want to do some pumpkin pie or whatever, I can just pull it out. I did taste the Ghirardelli pumpkin. It was kind of funny because I was at the Ghirardelli pumpkin, I really hadn't tasted, you know, tried to do like a taste test comparison, but the Ghirardelli is definitely is a lot sweeter than the Cinderella pumpkin. So when you're growing pumpkins, make sure you grow different types because, you know, they do have flavors to them. I do know this is one that's called, I think it's called like a peanut pumpkin. Apparently it does have a little bit of a nutty taste to it. I've never tried that one. Maybe next year I'll get some seeds for that. But Ghirardelli is definitely my favorite for baking because of the inherent sweetness to it. So, it's kind of messy, but that's pretty much all you do. You just scoop the flesh out and throw it in a bag, and that is your pumpkin for the winter. So that is it, guys. I will finish doing these, and I probably in the next couple of months, because I do, like I said, I like pumpkin, I will definitely be doing videos on what I make with the pumpkin mash, I guess you would say. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.